My name is Anthony Vaught, doing updates, and not really updates, but just going over information about the United Nations and the organization and just what these people do. And I am biased about the organization. I really do not believe they have the best intentions at all people in their things, but they do have good ideas. They do have ideas that are well intended and would help a whole bunch of people, but at the same time, do we necessarily have to go with their whole agenda? Because their whole agenda is very deceptive and deceivious. But they do have good ideas. Do we need to lower the emissions from cars? Yes. Yes, we do. Do we have to move from a technology that we essentially have not made any major groupings or major advancements in 100 years? Yeah, we should. But that's also a slippery slope, because in the 90s and early 2000s, they were making cars that could get 34 to 52 to 57 miles per gallon. But then they decided, then the car manufacturers started making SUVs. So it is a supply and a demand thing, but when you have a dictatorship over the demand, then if you make a dictatorship over the supply, then the demand kind of has to follow. So it's a really opposite way of thinking about things to get what you want. And that's all completely off the subject about what I was going to talk about with the flow of some of their information, and especially relating to the final act of the International Conference of Human Rights that they had in Tehran. And it is a good idea that there was a major conference, a major conflict that they had that really needs to be resolved, and that's his Nazi racism. Yes, killing a whole religion is a bad idea. Killing multiple people is a bad idea. Just because they believe something different from you, they can believe something different from you and still be in the same room, still have a conversation. And it's not that the words that they are saying it's heated and aggravated. It's the way they can say it, whether or not they do get violence, whether or not they're manipulative or usury, then those are issues. But just having difference of opinion is not a major big deal. And this is just an illustration of how they put people in an endless cycle, because they have the conflicts that were created to eradicate Nazi and racism. And to counteract that, they set new rules of human rights and exclusively putting women and children, which women and children should go first, but men have say in things as well. And men have dominated things. Women have good ideas. Men have good ideas. Women have bad ideas. Men have bad ideas. And with human rights, they say that you can have those if you don't have your right to defend yourself. And just like with a lot of these UN policies, the number one name of the goal is disarmament. Get rid of a way that you can protect yourself. And flat out, number one thing that is in every single one of these. And after they do the disarmament, they do the development, and that is to re-educate you about the human rights issues and things that you can and cannot do. And yes, most of them are good, but this is where the things start to become a little convoluted, because once you're developed, Then you go through their legal government agencies to make sure that you abide by the new set of rules. And these legal government agencies will educate educate the youth in human rights and freedom. And these freedoms that they are preaching will become the violations of the human rights. Because then once then you get into the development, then you can start making money, and then they indoctrinate them into the realization of social, economic, and cultural importance. And then once they do that, they will just with what's occurring right now is you will see the xenophobic. They have been doing a mind wash of people so that we can now become xenophobic instead of Nazis. And once we become xenophobic, that's where the conflict in human rights begin. And then that puts us right back to where we started. And it's designed that way on purpose. They want to have continual conflict to be able to manipulate you and to push more and more of the way, the direction that these people want to go. And this is even with Twitter, and it's a really slippery slope. I saw a bunch of people I guess are continually getting kicked off of Twitter for having information that is conservative or goes against human rights or goes against what the UN or the left or what you could say is the deep state. And that goes wrong with media control with the Smith-Mundt Act, where it is the Secretary, which is the Department of State, and the Board of Governors that decide what is on social media and not on social media. And Twitter won't tell you that. Nobody will tell you that. You have to look it up on the internet. And do not believe Snoop. They say it's, I forget what they say. They say it's not 100% true. It's not 100% false, but it is, they are the ones that can dictate what is put on the things and not. And that's why they're getting upset with the presidential conferences, and especially with the slides. But they have the slides not being available to people. That is either they're afraid that President Trump and our highly elected officials are going to have another Janet Jackson boobgate where there's going to be pornography or there's going to be a dirty word or there's going to be something obscene come above there, or you can believe that it has not been pre-approved by the Board of Governors of Media or the Secretary of the Department of State or the Department of State in general. They haven't approved that. And that's why they won't let him show that information. And with Twitter, they monitor Twitter the same way. If they don't want that narrative to go out, then they'll just send you. And it'll be on a slippery slope, because once you get into that type of censorship, and they've descended from having Twitter being like that, then they'll move to whether or not you have the right to purchase food in a legitimate way, or through the way that going through the food stores. It'll become an underground market, and will separate the two classes of people again. They'll always have two classes of people. There will always be, but we can work together instead of being in continual conflict.